everyone, I hope you're doing well. My name is Katie and I post book-related videos every single Wednesday, although with how my channel has been going lately, I feel like I should probably start saying Wednesday or Thursday, but either way, I post book-related videos once a week. And as I'm sure if you've been following my channel for even just 2-3 weeks, you'll probably have noticed that I don't read a ton of young adult. You guys know I love horror, I love thrillers, that's why a lot of you guys are here as well. And it's not that I dislike young adult, but there just isn't a ton of, from what I've seen at least, a ton of horrors or thrillers in the young adult section. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. If you know of some really good young adult horror or thrillers, definitely let me know. But I recently came across an author named Lois Duncan, and if I Know What You Did Last Summer sounds familiar, that's because it was originally a book, which I did not know. And so Lois Duncan, particularly in the 70s and 80s, I believe, wrote a lot of young adult thrillers and horror. So I'm going to be reviewing one of her books today, and this was published in 1974. This is Down a Dark Hall, and it's actually also coming out this week as a movie as well. And you guys know I've never done a sponsored video on this channel. This video is also not sponsored, not that I have anything against that, but I was sent this book and provided a link so that I could see the adaptation of the movie that's coming out this week on August 17th. But you guys know I've been sent books before for review. I've reviewed books that I've been sent before and said I really disliked them. So you can be confident that I will get into what I enjoyed and disliked about both the book and the movie. So let's go ahead and get into a spoiler-free review of the book as well as the movie. So first for the summary of the book and the movie are both going to be fairly similar. Kit is about 16 years old and she has just been sent away to Blackwood Academy, which is this very secluded mansion that has about only four or five female students and then just a couple of teachers. So they have very individualized attention at this school. All of their bedrooms are down a dark hall, and the second they all try and go to sleep, disturbing things start happening, and one by one, just terrible things start happening to the girls. And it's difficult to say anything else without giving too much away, so I'm just going to start getting into the pros and the cons. So first for pros, I have been hearing lately, and if you guys read any of these types of books, please let me know, but I've recently been hearing a lot of people talk about something called cozy mysteries, and I'll be honest, I never really understood the concept because I was like, why would you want to read a book that's cozy? Why wouldn't you always want to be terrified? But for some background, I've been watching a lot of shows that I really enjoy but that are very depressing, such as Sharp Objects, such as The Sinner. And so when I started to read this book, I feel like I'm starting to understand what people mean by cozy mysteries, because although this book is a mystery and it does have some very creepy elements, I love the imagery of her canopy bed like coming down straight on top of her and sort of like suffocating her. So, you know, it has creepy imagery like that, but at the same time there's something oddly comforting about it, and as much as it's creepy to read, it doesn't depress me. And maybe it's also just the setting when they talk about this beautiful ornate mansion, about the red velvet canopy bed, which who else Google images canopy beds, because that is one of my dreams down the road. It'll be a long time before I can afford one, but one day I will have an old-fashioned canopy bed. But elements like that of the girls being in the library and studying together and their friendships, even though horrific things happen in this book, at the same time it kind of felt like a warm, fuzzy, yet creepy blanket. I also thought, and again, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but when you find out what it is that's happening to the girls and why they're at this school, I thought it was really unique. And I personally have read a ton of mysteries, a ton of horror novels, a ton of creepy books like this, and I have never read a book that has this kind of twist in terms of what's happening. I just personally haven't read anything like that before, so it was nice to be surprised. Even though you do find out pretty early on and you can pick up what's happening, it still was different than anything else I've read before. And my last pro will lead me into my first con, but as this is published in 1974, it doesn't have a lot of the YA tropes that I hear people complain about these days. And because I tend to read a lot of brand new books, it also did just feel sort of comforting and nice reading something that is, what is it, about 50, 60 years old. And that leads me into my first con, which is the fact that for some reason they chose to modernize this book. So it does have elements like cell phones, and they have a reason why pretty early on in the book they get rid of the cell phones and get rid of, you know, the internet and email, but it still just rang a little bit false, and I just wish they would have left it. I don't think there was a need to update it. And my biggest overall con had to do with the pacing. I just thought that the book moved way too fast. It's only a couple hundred pages, I believe, and it would suddenly go from Kit, the protagonist, you know, making friends and starting at school, and then suddenly she's a week into school and we haven't even seen her have her first day of class. So elements like that, especially the ending as well, I felt like overall I wish the book had been a lot more fleshed out. Even if like 50 whole more pages had been added, I think it would have done the book a lot of good. Okay, so now getting into the movie, and again, it's August 17th when this comes out on demand and on iTunes. I was very happy when I looked up the casting because I love Anna Sophia Robb. Ever since Bridget Terabithia was one of my favorite books growing up, so that movie holds a special place in my heart. And of course, I am a huge Uma Thurman fan, so seeing that she was the headmistress who's in charge of the school, I was so happy. I just adore Uma Thurman as an actress and just as a human being if you read a little bit more about her aside from her being an actress. I also thought the set design was beautiful. The mansion looked exactly how I thought it would. And just like the book, my last pro is going to lead me into the cons, but the last thing I really liked was I thought that Kit had a lot more growth in the movie than she did in the book. It was interesting because in the book, when the book starts out, Kit is already kind of just your poster child, like perfect teenager. Like she's very confident, she's a decent person, like she's a leader. And in the movie, she's definitely struggling a lot more, but because of that, you see a lot more growth in her than you do in the book. The way the book begins and ends, Kit's kind of the same person. And that is gonna lead me into my cons for the movie. And that is gonna lead me into the cons for the movie. And my main con, and that's the fact, I don't know how to describe it, but they sort of made the school in the movie a school for troubled teens. Like the 4 or 5 girls all have a troubled past. Kit's your kind of stereotypical angry teen because of the death of her father. And some elements of that, especially one of the girls, rang pretty cheesy. And my last con is the same con I had for the book, was that the movie is only an hour and a half, which I understand is a normal length for a movie, but I still felt like it just went by so fast. So I wish maybe 30 more minutes had been added so we could see things like the friendships building between the girls and maybe a bit more of them in class and the mystery itself developing a little bit more. So that is my review of both the book and movie for Down a Dark Hole. Please let me know, do you have any other type of cozy mysteries, thrillers, or horror novels that you really enjoy? Again, if you are interested in the movie, it comes out August 17th, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye.